call the meeting to order, and we'll start with the allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call. I'm Bruce Ansel.
John Crawford. Craig Anthony.
Tony Malillo.
Joel Nielsen.
Dave Ralston.
And Matt Rigburn is excused. He had a last minute work commitment that was a scheduling conflict. So he won't be here today. So I'll open the volunteer pension board meeting. We have the approval of the November 20th minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Move seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Anything else for the volunteer pension board?
Sir.
We'll go ahead and adjourn, close the volunteer pension board meeting, and we need to open the public hearing for the 2026 budget. Public statements, members of the public are invited to provide comment. The public hearing is specific to the 2026 budget. Comments would be restricted to these topics. The board would not be responding to questions or challenges, and participants would have up to 5 minutes to comment. If there are any, then please identify yourself, spell your name, and provide physical address. Has anyone signed up? Do we have anyone via Zoom? Nothing? Okay, well, so much for our public hearing. I will then close the public hearing and open up the Special Board of Commissioners meeting with the 1033, and we have the budget resolution 2025-07 for the 2026 budget, and I will entertain a motion for that budget, but then we will, I'm sure, have a lengthy discussion. So, is there a motion for the 2026 budget? Is there a second? All right, let's start with some discussion. Chief, I am assuming with this package here, you have some information for us and some updates since our budget study session, where it was asked if we could include our real position as with vacancies and
Yes.
such that would not necessarily lead to a, I'm going to use the word fake, balanced budget, when actually we are quite far behind.
It's the real budget. If you'll permit me, I'm going to kind of I've got a tirade speech, whatever you want to call it, regarding the budget. And what's here on the screen matches what's here. Yes, I did fold in the 4 vacancies that was requested by Commissioner Anthony I don't by any means think that this is, I'm not picking on you, sir, but it's not fake. This is the true cost of what running the fire district
No,
would be.
fake meaning we balanced the budget.
Yeah. It's balanced. It's not unbalanced, which is what it was before. So what you have in front of you on paper and then what's on the screen here, as you can see, this is the summary page. And, again, it goes division by division. The interesting one is at the bottom, or what I think is the interesting piece. So this budget is 4% less. It's written 4% less than the previous year's budget. So just my thoughts and kind of I guess my statement on the budget. So this is essentially status quo from 2025. So it's 4% less than 2025, which equals $608,000. How did we do that? Well, the biggest thing was the beginning of it was a very I don't know what the right word is for it, but a very a measure of self-sacrifice by our firefighters. They took a 0% wage increase, and that right there bought us another year. And I'll get to that by the end of my speech. In addition to that, reflected in this budget is no new hire costs or training costs. So that is a savings because we've been budgeting for a year. The elimination of certain programs like ADP, as well as the elimination of an unfilled mechanics position that we've been unsuccessful in filling. This budget does provide the current level of staffing and service for 2026, which I will go on the record and say it's not adequate in my opinion. We are providing less. We are providing a BLS and fire response for our taxpayers, but it's not fast enough. Our response times are not good enough, not because of the firefighters. It's because we're covering too much area with not enough resources and call concurrency. So this is the third year of drawing from reserves to balance the budget. This year, if we look at the revenues page, you can see at the bottom here in red, I'm expecting, or I've projected that we're going to withdraw $844,364 from reserves to balance the budget. This budget does minimal to address our capital or apparatus needs. This is the addition of 2 aid cars. We need an additional ladder truck. We need an additional engine. Those are super high costs. So this budget does the minimal to get us by. We have discussed a possible levy lid lift in August of 2026. Without that levy lid lift going on the ballot and without its successful passage, and looking at the capital needs that we have for the district, personnel costs, which are not bad. Personnel costs they sometimes get used as a dirty word. We need to reward our people for what they do. There's a market cost for firefighters, and we need to stay in that if we want to keep our good people, which are our most precious resource. But with those personnel costs coupled with anticipated vacancies, we are going to see we have, a retirement, 2 retirements coming up this year, one in the middle, one at the end. But after that, we've got 10 people that become eligible for retirement next year. And it's just there will be more vacancies. So all those things, so capital needs of the district, personnel costs, anticipated vacancies, that if we do not pass a levy lid lift, we will be looking at service cuts, not personnel cuts, non-filling of vacancies, which is going to affect the level of service based on what I anticipate to be rolling brownouts, based on what we can afford to staff that day in 2026 or 2020, earliest 2026, latest will be 2027, or sorry, 2027, 2028. Let me amend that. So we're going to make it through 2026, okay, but 2027 is where we're going to see, and that decision will be made by how that will be determined is how much are we going to draw out of reserves each year, and how many years can we keep doing it, and what's a sustainable level of reserves. We could draw it down to 0 for a couple of years and keep full staffing and do all the things, do some of the things. Not all the things, but we can keep 3 people per day in each station, but we won't be able to do it forever. So that is my rosy budget. Each of you was we had the budget study session a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if there's any particular line items that you want to discuss, or divisions that you'd like to discuss. We are trying to do some things that are we put more money into grant fund into finding some grants, and we're going to continue pounding away at trying to get some success in grants. We have budgeted for the purchase of 2 aid cars, going back to diesels, and so far, with the one that we've had in service for a bit now, we've had good success. We're not seeing the same wear and tear on this properly sized and weighted aid car that we've got now. But yeah, this is really it's really a holdover budget, trying to limp us through to what I anticipate to be a August of 2026 levy lid lift.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any comments?
Couple questions.
Yes, sir.
On the revenue summary sheet, I was under the impression that transfer from reserve in this current year was $750,000.
Correct.
Where did I go wrong with that assumption?
That is correct. You're looking at the revenue summary?
Yeah.
Okay, so this was the proposed, what you're looking at is the proposed budget, not actuals. So this was last year's proposal of 1.6.
I'm back in line. Thank you. The other thing that I need a little bit of education on is what happens when a new house gets done in July? What money flows into the apartment?
So home new construction is completed in the first 6 months, goes on the next year's tax rolls. If it's completed after July, it waits a whole nother year. When we do the levy rate calculation, you add the 1% to the current AV, and then you take the previous year's levy amount and apply that to new construction. So every year we get a breakdown from the county of the different categories of new construction. I went back and did a little bit of looking at what new construction is done, and it's interesting. In 2026, we are expected, we were able to levy or tax, I should say, 83 million worth of new construction that happened this last year. The previous year, it was 143 million. The year before that, it was 147 million. And the year before that, it was 86 million. So I inadvertently left my graphic on my desk, but actually about 85 million is kind of our average over 5 years. That is, we had 2 really good years in there, but about between 55 and 80 million is kind of closer to our average for new construction every year. I would call 2024, 2025 on a 5-year, looking at it in 5 years, those were outliers. Those were quite a bit higher. So that trend, sorry.
So the district, so do we get one-time money though, when they get completed?
We do not. Well, we do.
They add to the mitigation fund or something?
We do, but those funds are tightly controlled, not tightly controlled. What we can spend them on is pretty limited. They can only be spent on growth. So capital growth. So a new station, a new unit. For instance, when we put the battalion chiefs on, we paid for the battalion chief's car with mitigation funds because that was a new level of service that we'd introduced in the district. And there's good and bad with mitigation for a district our size. And Fire Marshal Nielsen and I have talked about this. One of the problems with mitigation is we don't bring in enough. Because currently the balance of that account sits at about $700,000. which we need millions to redo 63. Now we'll be able to spend that money on 63 because it's a capital improvement that's allowing for an expanded. The plan is to be able to upstaff in that station, put more capacity in it, so that's considered growth. So, but it's a good amount of money, but it's a drop in the bucket when you look at a huge capital project like that.
So the impact of slower home building really just affects how the dilution of the 1% in a future year occurs.
Correct.
It's not more money, it's
Not
just,
more money.
it's just a dilution thing. Thanks, I learned a lot.
The other thing I wanted to, went ahead and analyzed overtime. I know overtime's oftentimes kind of a question, and we're spending so much in overtime. When we broke down this year for the first time, and actually the guy that started it, that did it, is sitting in the room here, and that's Battalion Chief Aaron Holtz. We broke down, we put in subtypes for overtime. Instead of just charging overtime, now we've got operations, training, fire marshal, public events, those kind of things. So when we look at shift overtime, of our total expenses for overtime, 65.4% of that was spent on shift overtime. That does not include, which is actually, it's a small amount, but that does not include coverage for comp time, because that is time off earned by the firefighters. So operational overtime accounts for 65% of our overtime budget. That when you take the 65% of the total hours worked, it's 12,258 hours of operational overtime per year. Divide that by the hours worked in a year by the average firefighter, so 2496. That puts us, that amount of money would pay for 4.9 FTEs, which, if I'm understanding this calculation right, we're actually saving money by having the overtime, because we're not paying all the other associated costs with, it's actually a good balance. So
The only downside is
it wears on our people.
where people out.
Yep.
Have there been any of the firefighters complaining to you they're working too much overtime?
Not currently. When we had more vacancies, yes. Yep. And of that overtime, only 2.18% is mandatory. So the amount of mandatory has dropped. So
Just one observation on that. Having managed budgets, I understand paying overtime saves you money. But it's not real prudent to do that. Especially in an environment where we have shift work here, or we have family units, in my term. Like one of our shifts, the chief was talking to me about, all there is the captain, and two of the vacancies are in that same group. So must be on that shift at that station, the captain has new people. At least the core team's going to be new every time. So that's one issue with overtime. Has its plus and minuses. The minuses is you get behind the curve in filling your vacancies. It's too steep to catch up. Because right now to fill the vacancies, you're going to have 5 months before they're on the floor. Going to cost you $70-some thousand. And how many slots can you have? So you have training issues, you have promotionals, you have 16, I think you have 16 captains, and anyway, I looked at the list of the firefighters that step 1, 2, and 3. how do you continue to feed your department, the district, if the vacancies end up falling to the bottom? All of a sudden now we need to start filling captain's jobs because of retirements. And the number of qualified candidates, you haven't grown your own. And you want to try really hard to hire from within. I know that in this county system we have, to a large extent, it's all the same union. So it's a lot easier for folks to move around, but still focus should be on our particular district. So saving money on overtime is the short-term strategy right now as we try to figure out the future. But in the end, you can't live on it because you get addicted to it. And I have been. And it's more than just about the bottom line.
I agree with you 100%. It's a temporary fix until we can be in a better financial place. I know you and I have talked, and I've talked with the local about this. I am extremely concerned. I don't want to end my career laying people off, and I don't want to hand off a department to the next chief, Chief Malillo, that would have to do that either. And I agree that full staffing, or as close to full staffing as we can get, if not overstaffed, is the way to go. And once we're financially stable enough, it'll be 4 a year until, or four at a time until we can get them up there.
Well, I look forward to the time where you can fill the training captain position.
Yes, sir. Yep.
And that would be one that I hope comes from inside the department someplace. I'm done.
Any other comments? All right. So we have resolution 2025-07, adopting the tax revenues and budget for the year 2026. There's been a motion and it's been seconded. It's been discussed. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you, Chief, for all the work that went into filling all those little cells with numbers.
Well, it's not just me. It's a team effort. So the whole crew.
I'm thanking the whole team. Okay. The next item is approval of the consent agenda. As I was looking over the packet this month, it came to me that your chief's report is always buried in this consent agenda. And as the chief of the department, I think it would be beneficial to us, the board, and the public to actually hear a report from you during our meeting.
Yep.
And I will ask the board if they think that's a reasonable idea. We have all this stuff. They're all in here. We get to see them. I don't know how many other people actually look at them, but sort of the pulse of the department comes from your report and what's going on and what's happening and what's important. And I personally would kind of like in the future to have you have your moment where you can stand on your soapbox and give us your view of what's going on.
Be like I just did.
Or is okay with that, we will move the agenda next time to allow for his report to be separate from the consent. Any objection to that?
What's the problem with it being in the packet, I guess, is my question.
Well, there's no problem with it. It's just that we don't usually allow the chief to speak about what's going on in the department unless we specifically ask a question about a specific item that's in that. I mean, we get the fire marshal report, we actually give the local an opportunity to give a verbal report.
So basically, you just want to make that before the commissioner meeting. reports type thing.
Or as an item after the consent agenda, or before,
Okay.
just a separate item on our agenda. Okay.
That's always when I start reading when I get the packet, because it's full of great information. Really gives me a sense of what happened this month or last month.
All right, so Jenny. January.
Yep.
We will add it as a
Separate.
separate item. For now, is there a motion to approve the existing consent agenda? Been moved and seconded. I will let us all know what's in there. We have the meeting minutes from November 20th. We have the staff reports, the chief's report, operations training, technical support. We have the financial report, and we have the voucher payroll and benefits. The total revenue for November was $1,386,432.90. The total expenditures for December was $20,734.18. Payroll direct deposit $414,252.95. Payroll taxes $105,832.19. Benefits voucher $263,446.04. L&I fourth quarter voucher $132,317.55. Child support voucher $1,386. Monthly expenditure voucher $70,439.29. And capital voucher $33,060.16. All in favor of approving the consent agenda?
Aye.
Unanimous, thank you. Commissioner meeting reports. Anything from you?
Nothing to report. I just want to say the Christmas party was very well done, and a shout out to Angela for all of her efforts and hard work. It was amazing.
Cool.
Yeah, we had a good time at the Christmas party. Kim, myself, and the chief had a meeting with the Lincoln School District back in early December. Covered some topics for a possible levy agenda upcoming. Went very well. Got a lot of good information out of it.
Okay.
I'll let Joel give the update on where Blaine stands with their UGA issues. So nothing from me.
All right. Let's see. Birch Bay Community Advisory Committee met on the 16th. Still just looking at development issues, growth, UGA within the Birch Bay community. There's little pockets that were excluded that don't make sense. There's areas that are in that are wetlands or undevelopable. There's other areas that have utilities and everything already to them that have been carved out of the UGA. So we've all been scratching our heads wondering who's driving the bus here. But we're working on trying to make it make more sense from a future development point of view. I think they still would appreciate us to give a presentation after the first of the year on behalf of the fire district. Local 106.
Hello, thank you.
Welcome.
A couple things. First off, thank you, Chief, your team, for getting that budget out, and the commissioners for approving it. That's wonderful. Scott Farrell's remaining our local 106 president for another 3 years. So we're happy to have him continue on. In our December meeting, Scott Farrell gave out the President's Award for all of Local 106 for someone that goes above and beyond, gives lots of time, and does an outstanding job. And our very own Rob Mulrooney won that this year. So we're really proud. Thank you, Rob, for everything you do for us. Haley pretty much single-handedly took on a food drive, and although met some resistance like everything, we managed to raise 321.4 pounds of food and $565, and we donated that to the Blaine Food Bank. So that was successful. Unfortunately, I was on shift, but I did hear the Christmas party was amazing. So thanks to Angela, Jenny, and everybody else that was there. I heard Santa was there, so pretty exciting. I heard he was super happy and jolly, and that's amazing. Love to see that. So thank you to everybody for the Christmas party. And then Scott and I met with the Ferndale representative who ran their levy and sat down and ran some numbers with him and went over kind of what was good, what they can improve on, and he's willing to help us out too. So we're starting on our side of the levy, the run. So I think that's it at this time. But yeah, congratulations to Rob and thank you.
Yes, nice job, Rob. I know that every event I go to, you're at, so, and I don't go to all of them, so thank you very much.
I missed you at the Christmas party.
Yeah, I either had basketball, football, or wrestling. I don't know which one it was. Not me, my grandkids. All right, unfinished business. We are working on a plan for Birch Bay Station 63, and we have with us Chief Ralston to give us an update.
Sure. Last month, right at the end of November, both Chief and I and firefighter representative member Liz Bronder met with Carletti, kind of our first get together to kind of review the options of the feasibility study that we've contracted with. Again, just a quick review of those options. Again, were three options. One of it was to take the existing floor plan of the station and remodel that inside of that. And the option two was then to expand the footprint of the front quarters to include updates and everything else. And then option three was to do a complete tear down and a new station. So those are the three options that they're currently working on. We had a good meeting with them with input about what we would like to see in the station as far as additional, whether there were rooms and bathrooms and needs, that they took that information and are trying to compile that into those three options that we're looking at. We do have another meeting scheduled here right after the first of the year, first week in January, to do an update on that. And that's probably pretty much the progress that we're kind of doing right now. We're hoping, sometime maybe early spring is kind of what we were hearing, that we could have some information back of what those estimate costs would be for that.
So with those three options, we will at some point see a cost analysis for each one with pros and cons as to.
That's how we anticipate, and that's the discussions we're going to have, that the commissioners will then have that information put before them to understand an avenue to go with those three options. Yes.
Any questions?
How many beds? What's the capacity you're asking for?
Well, there was an additional room. I want to say it was six. Yeah, not 9 rooms. That's what it was.
8 rooms.
8 rooms. That's right. Yeah, 8 rooms.
How about the kitchen, commercial or residential?
Would be a commercial kitchen, expanded, big eating area, kind of. Well, it kind of depends on the options too, because we're limited with the square footage that's in there in some of it. The option 2, which was expanding, we haven't really seen that yet, other than what we were asked to do was what we would like to see in a kitchen. Number of refrigerators, tables, and sit down, and all of that. There was all kind of what we had given them, but we haven't seen anything back yet on that. It's kind of our wish list is what we gave them, what we'd like to see.
For me, I'm glad to hear it sleeps 8, because for me, the minimum has to be 7. So 4, 2, and 1. so 8th grade. And also, you can't handle that many people with the same stove my granddaughter's using, so. Good job.
Do they make commercial refrigerators in avocado green or?
Well, you could probably get one.
We'll get you a magnet.
Why did I?
All right, thank you. All right, new business. So we talked at our budget study session about maybe putting out some information. I don't think it fits in that year-end report thing, Jimmy, that you can send me.
Right.
Are we crafting something on that, or are you asking me to do that?
I showed you what the little bits I have, and yeah.
Following this meeting, those are the things I'll be able to get to. So Jenny and I'll work on it and get something to Jenny. Pass it
I
through.
mean, I don't know that we want to change that format a whole lot, other than, kind of what we did, our call volume, et cetera.
Right.
That part's done.
Okay, well, I mean, we only have 300 words. What I'm thinking of for this press release is maybe not as extensive as the port investigation,
Well,
but
So Commissioner Crawford brought this in. This
Right.
is the Linden School District's like open letter to the public, and it's a good half page,
right.
Yeah,
I'm kind of hoping we can get a reporter to get involved with this and maybe be a bit appalled that every year we're drawing nearly $1 million out of reserve just to keep the apparatus on the road. I think the public needs to hear that. And I think we need to start telling that story now and just keep ramping it up if and when we approach a levy live discussion, which is our next item. But anyway, I'm happy to work on that. I just want to make sure the board is comfortable with us. We'll draft something, we'll send it out to the board for review.
You say we're limited to 300 words.
No, this is different. These are two.
Okay.
The Northern Light every year does a year-end report from police, fire, public
Library.
works, library, and that comes out in their last edition of the year, the first one in January, I guess. And it's usually, we hired this many people, we had retirements, we went on this many calls, kind of just basic information. I would like to end it with that in order to balance our budget, we've taken money out of reserves going on 3 years in a row. But different thing. So if you guys are okay, we'll work on that and work with the local papers to get something out about our challenges with the budget and providing service with the same number of people and units that we've had for the last 20 years. And maybe showing that our response times are hurting because of that. And it's no reflection on our personnel. It's a reflection on roads, square miles, concurrent calls. And I don't know, looking at our last 2 months, our call requests for service have been down.
Mhm.
I think, 80 calls this last month compared to last year?
Yes.
And I don't know
Looks
if
like
that's just an anomaly bubble. I still see the units going by my house almost on a daily basis.
Right.
Including not just about 45, but then 6, etc. So, I digress. That, I guess, yes, we're okay with that?
Mhm.
Okay, so it's a lively bunch. Levy lid lift planning meetings. As we have seen from our budget, we don't have enough money. We haven't for years. And we have kind of danced around, talked around running a levy lid lift on the ballot in August. If we wait till November, any money that would come in if the levy were to pass wouldn't come in until 2028. If we go in August and it passes, the money is available in 2027. So my preference is to run it by August or before, and I don't think we have time to run it in March or April or whenever. Well, I guess it was there one in February.
There is one in February.
Definitely can't do that. So my thought is we shoot for August. There's a lot of rules that we have to follow as a board that are different from outside organization, which we're hoping to attract some groups to participate. But I think it would behoove us to set up some actual planning meetings specifically to levy lid lift discussions. And that needs to happen soon, right after the first of the year. So I don't know if you want to just have Jenny send some potential dates that don't conflict with administrative meetings and duties that we can all sort of pick and choose from. Is there, first of all, is that, if people okay with that idea? Hello?
For to send some dates out?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Are there times and dates that, first of all, I really don't want to do weekends because the staff is working their tails off already. So I don't want to burden them with more time on their limited days off. But are there times or dates that are kind of no-fly zones for anybody here?
End of January.
And January is good or
It's
bad?
bad.
Okay. So earlier January.
June's bad for me.
June?
Yeah.
We're talking January.
No, January? Throw me some dates and times.
Okay,
Pick and choose.
all right.
The only thing I got is the third Thursday of every month. So I'm
We'll
good.
try to work around your schedule. Yep.
One meeting, their ideas, and we can take.
Yes, it's an open meeting.
Yes.
Anyone who wants to attend is certainly welcome to participate. We do have to be careful with that line of, one, what we can ask, and, right? We can't be.
There's been specific people who've come to the meeting and made comments. The union most certainly has an interest. I would think that any meeting that we're gonna have, anybody that's expressed an interest ought to just be invited to the meeting.
I agree.
And they have, at the meeting, they should have the ability to have a yeah, but once in a while and discuss, just not sit in the cheap seats in the corner. Because what we're interested in is hearing what the residents of the district want. They get to, they're going to decide, so if you're for the department shrinking away or getting larger, you ought to come and give your opinion so we can make a decision on what to do.
Sounds good. That work, Jerry? Item 3, we have a action item for an 8-car purchase.
So we were contacted by Bellingham Fire, and they have two 8 units that they're surplusing. They're a little bit different design than ours, but they're low mileage, the correct weight. They're decently taken care of. They've been city units. We're actually interested in purchasing one for a more consistent and reliable reserve aid car, which is our current reserve has 280,000 miles on it. This replacement would have 70,000 miles. It's a medium-term solution for a problem that we've got. The cost of the rig they're asking is $30,000. This comes fully outfitted with, I'll just say what it doesn't have, and that's the power load system, which we already have one. It's a 40 minute swap by somebody for $500. We take the one out of our current reserve, put it in there, it's good to go. And then an Opticom emitter. So the flashing light that changes the screen lights. Reached out to the Bellingham radio shop. They're happy if we can get them the emitter, they'll put it right back in. And so we don't have to take it to another vendor. We'd obviously have to get it restriped. So what I would ask is that we get authorization to spend $35,000 total on the purchase of this used aid car so that we can get rid of some of this old, way over mileage stuff that we've got and have a more reliable backup for our current use.
So nobody else has expressed interest in buying this unit, correct?
South Whidbey was going to buy this unit, and Chief Melillo, if you could, do you remember the story on why they backed away?
I don't remember.
It wasn't mechanical.
No.
It wasn't mechanical. It had something to do with they
So let's give them $25,000 and call it good.
see what we can do.
Good with that.
I'm not gonna buy anything from you.
I got a little history on it, so.
Okay, well,
I know nobody's,
The-
I know they wanna sell it, nobody else is expressing interest. We give them a little bit of money and
One of the,
we need to, at least from a board's perspective, give the chief an upper limit not to go over, so that we don't have to come back and meet again. So he's asked for up to 35,000 is what I heard, and that's on the table. Chief, did you have?
just that the current configuration of that rig with the lights and sirens and radio and everything, if we don't purchase it, that's not how they're selling it. They're going to strip everything out of it and then send it to auction. Now that's not a threat. It's just the way that they're going to deal with it. I don't think that they're putting it out on open market like this for too many people.
sure, next time we do that.
Okay, so, just for the record, what would the current new price be? We buy the rig, we stripe it, we put the radios, we do all the power lift, et cetera, et cetera. What is the current cost of the new rig?
$325. We just bought one not too long ago.
Well,
Probably up since then.
I would say closer to 350 when you add the radios and the striping and installing the power load and all the
This
other.
one's what, 5, 6 years old?
This one's 10 years old. It's a 2015. This is it's built by Braun, so it's a Bellingham spec. So
All right, so, I'm going to move that we allow the chief up to $35,000 to purchase this apparatus from Bellingham. That's the motion. Is there a second?
Not for me.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you. Merry Christmas.
For $22.50.
Get on the prices right.
No, I haven't.
All right, resolution 2026-01. That's just the meeting schedule date. I'm assuming it just follows the third Thursday of the
It
month,
does,
like, all the others have in the past.
yes.
Yeah, it's in my packet somewhere. Anyway, is there a motion to approve resolution 2026-01 for the meeting schedule?
So, second,
Moved and seconded. Again, no changes, 10:30 here on the third Thursday of the month, and we can modify those as necessary or add special meetings if needed. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, thank you. All right, district website dashboard metrics. Does the board want to see any additional information or omit any? Is this?
This is the metrics board that's on our current website. And we've been asked if we wanted to update, omit, add, change things around. And we just thought it would be a good idea to get the board's opinion of what data we're putting out there. So we've got, a person can go through and look at months or years. They can pick. The data goes back to when we started using Image Trend for as our report writing software. People can look at calls based on day and time. I mean, there's any number. The tabs will tell you what you can do.
Can I see response areas?
So these are the fire blocks. So like here you can see. Sorry, I'm gonna put my old man glasses on. In Station 61 fire block in November of 2025, there was 67 calls. So just in the kind of the Blaine area. If you move out, you can look at the different fire blocks. So here's one that's always of interest. How many out here on the Semiahmoo Spit right now? Know that this does include, for right now, this does include Birch Bay Village. So, this is the kind of thing that someone could, if they took the time, go through and look at. And it looks at any fire block that we responded into. So it talks about how many fires we responded to. It gives median turnout time, median arrival time, does the same for EMS, and goes through the kind of the main chief complaints that we're seeing. I should say the crews are seeing. You've got an incident map. It does not give address, like it doesn't give someone's address, but you can see, where calls were in the district. The one that we like to use, would like to discuss, they got concurrency, and it'll show here, Birch Bay, there was 27 concurrent incidences in the month of November. There was 11 in Semiahmoo, 21 in the Blaine core area. And it gives a time breakdown so you can see kind of when those concurrent calls are happening. Sorry.
When we do our response time, I think last time, Commissioner Anthony may have asked this question of, is our overall response time of call to arrival on scene, and does it divide out emergency versus non-emergency responses?
Does not divide out emergency versus non-emergency. And that's in talking with company officers and battalion chiefs, that's one of their concerns, is that that's not being taken into account. And Chief Melillo has asked the people that do the report writing if we can get that to be a metric. So
Because that makes a huge difference.
when you have 200 square miles, that makes a
Right.
huge difference.
Right. I mean, you know, I watch you folks go by my house regularly, and sometimes you're lights and sirens, and sometimes you're putting along, and I look up Pulse Point, and it's probably a fall patient or a BLS nothing call, but it goes towards our overall response time. And I think we're gonna go to the public with a response time argument. It needs to be for emergency responses.
Right.
You know, because someone says, hey, my cat's stuck in a tree, we're not gonna bust up there to get there, but it goes towards our response time. I think our response times will be better than what they currently look like.
Yes.
And I'd really like to see that number personally. It's not a huge burden to try to find it.
We're gonna work on that. There's two metrics that are kind of associated in the same that I'm trying to chase down. The first one is that we're looking at that code red versus code, lights and sirens versus downgraded response. But I think it's also important to look at the impact of the concurrency. So when 63 is responding, when the Birch Bay station is responding into Blaine, how does that show up in our numbers? Does that show up as a longer response and detracting from 63's performance standard because they're the miles that they're driving? We don't want them to drive faster to try to meet a goal. I think we need to recognize that 63 within their area is likely very effective when they're in their station. When they are not in their station, there's probably a concurrent longer response time. Anecdotally, I think we all know that. I want to see how much these concurrent calls are actually affecting the response time per station.
Station 42 also, does that affect our runs?
Yeah, and it's two parts. It's and I think I mentioned this before, but let's say that there's a call in 63 that 42 is responding to, so the Ferndale unit's coming north, right? Well, on our side of things, if 42 gets there within an acceptable time, that shows as a win in our numbers, when it really, I don't think, should be. Because yes, we're applying, or we are seeing success that a unit arrived on scene first. That's the biggest mission, is make sure somebody gets on scene first. But if we're building false capacity by showing that 63 is more successful than they actually are, because we're relying on a different district to fulfill some of those responses, I think that's something that we need to weed out. So it is good that they're responding and we will see those numbers, but I think we also need to be realistic.
Yeah, I agree. I think it needs, all of those things you said are important, and I think we need to tease them out, because statistics and numbers can be manipulated any way you want. And I think we need to know our numbers, our units, so that when we go to the public, we can say, this is how long it's taking us to get there. This is how often we're not available, et cetera. So hopefully we can.
So if there's an interest, in that example, the Ferndale engine gets there or medic unit gets there, do they turn us around? Do we keep coming code 3, or do they tell the engine you can downgrade your response? Is our piece of equipment going to actually go to the response to take a report, or how does that work on the boundary? Is Ferndale taking care of everything and we keep, or are we?
Ferndale's taking, no, because the way CAD works is, say it's an ALS call, it's going to look for a BLS unit and an ALS unit, and it's going to send the two closest available. That may be aid 42 and medic 45. So we've got District 7 responding into our district, and we know it, but none of our units ever respond. Now there's a report that's generated, and typically the battalion chief or a company officer will write a simple narrative that says, no North Wacom unit responded. This call was handled by District 7 units, and that's it. So that's what I just wrote down is we need to find, and so that's going to happen with two different units that I can think of primarily is going to be 42 and age 75 on the Linden over on the east side.
This was brought to our attention for a specific reason,
Just
or
if we were asked if we'd like to do any updates or look for put different metrics up here on this. It's not something we need to decide today. It's if you'd like to get on there and play around with it.
There was no complaint.
There's no complaints. We can leave it as
and
is.
the ask was from whom?
The ask was from Bellingham's IT guy that kind of builds this out for us. Just wanted to know if there was anything new that we
I mean,
wanted.
is there anyone else that, I mean, we're probably the least likely to, at least personally, I'm probably not gonna, well, I might now that you showed it to me, go there and play around. But, I mean, are there things that the crews would like to see or BCs? Sorry.
I do have thoughts on it. I mean, part of the problem is exactly what you're talking about is that you're presenting a public image through a metrics graph, which is really good for gaining information, but the public doesn't really know that that's not necessarily accurate. That is kind of the danger of it. It's going to be kind of close to accurate and it's going to give them good information, but in reality, it's not. It's all data is only as good as what you put into it, and you know that side of it has to be. You know, we've worked on this a lot. This is just pulling. There's a lot of information in the image stream that you can pull up, and this is pulling out something very specific, and there's a lot more intricacy into it.
Do we have any way of knowing how many times this is accessed?
I'm sure there is, but I don't have that information.
I mean, it would,
We could probably put a counter on it.
yeah, it would be interesting. I'd be interested to know, I mean, we put all this up. Does anyone besides, I guess it would be hard to know whether it was our personnel or just the general public.
You wouldn't be able to know.
No.
But anyway. You have,
I was just wondering if we're gonna use this, you know, as a levy tool, and I don't know if it's even possible, but we could put, like, when our units are on calls. So if it just said 61, 63, and
Oh, like a live counter.
69, and it said, you know, out on call, or something, just so as the pub, you know, you're like, hey, if you wanna see how busy we are, go look. And every time they look, 61 and 63 show out, you know, I don't know, just an idea to help the public see that we're busy.
to Pulse Point.
Something like that. I mean, I don't know if it's a possibility, but
I mean, that's where I go because it's on my phone.
Right.
I can just like, hey, I wonder how, especially when you guys go by my house, I'm like, one, where are you going and which unit is coming and where's everybody else, right? I don't know if you could just link to Pulse Point.
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah,
That's
you know, you could say, hey, go look, and you can see what we're doing, and it shows all three out. The public's like, wow, okay, there is nobody right now. I don't know if it's a possibility.
There's also a visual to that may not be well known. And if it's successful, I think it would be great information as well, that we're not just talking about the call, but we're talking about out of service time, you know, the time of the call and somebody being out. But if I keep saying this to members of the public, just drive from Blaine to St. Joe's Hospital and back. That's out of service time. And so it'll show busyness as far as the calls go, but also the impact a call has to our readiness to respond to the next one.
right.
I went down this rabbit hole here about 2 months ago. And I decided I'd break down, well, I thought it was going to break down a quarter or a half a year, but I broke down just the month of January. And on my nice little spreadsheet, I had every 15 minutes on January the 1st. all the way through the end of the month. Then I had I just had 61 or 63. I didn't care if it was an engine or a medic. And if they're out on a call, I fill in the block. And I go, boy, this took a lot of time. And it was interesting though, when all of a sudden you look at this big piece of paper with all these 15-minute blocks, how many times 61 and 63 were gone. So it was easier for me because I'm a visual person than a chart to be able to go, God, all the dots are lined up. I guess they're not lined up for me today. So I think that it's a great idea. Somehow you can figure out a good visual way for people to look on how often are we on our own.
All right, anyone else? Correspondence in your packets? I have one question.
Okay.
So we get these nice thank yous from people in the public. Are we violating HIPAA if we include like this last one, they signed their last name on the card?
I don't think so, because it's a card to us. I don't think.
Just
Yeah.
a thought.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
can check
didn't
on that, but.
say specifically what happened, but
Right.
we do have the first and last name of the patient. Just curious. Since it now becomes. Anyway. Okay, next, January the 15th, everyone, available? Since we approved the meeting schedule. Fair enough. Next meeting, we approved that meeting schedule. already.
I'll just bring it to sign next month.
Okay,
That's fine.
board elections and representation outside meetings for the board. Fire chief performance evaluation is usually due after the first of the year. We can maybe
Send it out,
send it out.
and then have them sent to you?
Yep.
Got
Yep. Will there be an update on 63 at the next meeting? you
Yes.
think? Okay.
Well, we're scheduled to meet the first week in January, so we
Okay.
should have whatever that meeting we could do. Yep.
All right, so we'll keep that on there. Maybe the levy lid lift dates or anything else, chief?
Not that I can think of right now.
Did you miss, did I skip you?
I was looking at that.
I skipped him. I didn't put him on there because I took him off last month because you were gone.
Thank you for staying. I'm looking on the agenda and I'm like, I don't see it. Fire marshal report, what do you got for us? Sorry for ignoring you.
Well, like was mentioned earlier, the de-annexation, the voters of Blaine approved it. They voted yes to de-annex. It's been through the city council and is now at the boundary review board with Whatcom County. So they'll be looking it over, making a decision on it. So we're just waiting for a final.
And that's to approve the de-annexation.
Yes.
Okay, and then we have the new UGA proposal. That's.
I don't think that's in stone yet.
Right.
They're still talking it over where they want to move it to.
Right.
The first step is de-annex the current one.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it.
We need to have an executive session, chief. Per RCW 42.30.110 subsection G, to evaluate the qualifications of an applicant for public employment or to review the performance of a public employee. I don't believe there's going to be any action after that. So for those of you who stayed for this meeting, there won't be any other business except we will sign documents before we adjourn the meeting. You need a break?
5 minutes.
Okay, let's take a 5-minute break. And we will, how long are you gonna need to, in executive session? So we're gonna say it's roughly 1/4 till, we'll be back by. Oh, there's 3 o'clock.
I was just
reconvene after executive session. It's a little past noon, but we have no further business to conduct, and I will move to adjourn the meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned, we got to sign documents.